Buenas noches, profesor. Espero se encuentre muy bien. Vamos con el reto de la semana número 9. Eh, Elegí un artículo del Harvard Business Review. Se llama The Next Supply Chain Challenge Isn't a Shortage, it's Inventory Glut. It's March 2020. Shelves sit empty without any toilet paper or cleaning supplies in sight. Tablets and electronic devices are out of stock. Consumers are clamoring for the basics they need to suddenly work and learn from home and live under quarantine. Meanwhile, on Zoom calls and in email threads, company leaders around the world are racing to put in gained orders with their suppliers to speed up supply chain lags and get products to customers. In the supply and demand equation, demand seems infinite. Now, 3+ years later, we are seeing the stark uh, after effects of that spike in demand. After the race to order key components and manufacture products, suppliers are left with mountain of excess inventory as growth has slowed to normal levels. In the tech industry, it's common to warehouses to be full of uh, now outdated semiconductors and other technology components. When those components were ordered, they were in hot demand. Now companies are dispositioning excess electronic components, selling them at lower prices, scraping, and then using them in alternative products and trying to sell them back to suppliers to to get them off their balance sheets. Beyond the obvious environmental cost, and inventory glut of high and electronic components is an expensive problem. Excess inventory is a 2050 billion problems in US alone, according to a 2023 Carnegie study. On a global scale, US census data shows excess inventory amount $2 trillion. Someone pays for all the extra inventory. And this problem isn't pandemic era anomaly. Need demand spikes are coming our way. You only have to consider to seemingly infinite demand of electric vehicle batteries of or the boom of chipsets that drive AI-powered technology to see how similar cycles could play out in the near future. As we look ahead at the new age of operations, leaders have the opportunity to address the current inventory problem and be stewards of a healthy, sustainable industry ecosystem. Players in every part of the value chain, from component suppliers to manufacturers, have a key role in preventing this kind of waste in the future. We see the opportunity for forward-thinking leaders to blaze a trail, modeling a more sustainable way to collaborating for shared success. How inventory gluts occur. Inventory challenges aren't new. Electronics littered shelves uh, in 2001, after the dot-com bubble burst. Then in 2009, the financial crash left manufacturers with excess inventory where customers' buying power has suddenly dropped. And now the high-tech industry is feeling the weight of a volatile market that has led the excess component inventory. Excess inventory can happen at any part of the supply chain. Here's a hypothetical example. As could computing booms, a company selling servers, also known as an original equipment manufactured or OEM, get a giant order for server equipment. The OEM in the turn sends a order to their contract manufacturer for this device. We need as many as you can make. The contract manufacturer starts sourcing all of the parts they need to make those servers, include two kinds of semiconductors. We all can tell them A and B semiconductors. The contract manufacturer searches high, how low for those semiconductors. Getting the parts could take a year. One in the parts are finally in hand surprise. In hand surprise, the original order has changed. The technology has advanced and the demand has shifted. Now those same servers use B and C semiconductors. The contract manufacturer is stuck in warehouses full of the outdated semiconductors as A and excess quantities of B, creating a very expensive, uh, wasteful problem. The key problem is in the original order demand is never actually infinite, or fully predictable, given technology changes. Every manufacturer must creatively collaborate with their customers to understand realistic demands for what they will manufacture. There's also an opportunity for suppliers, manufacturers, and distributors to creatively work together to return components that do not get used and get them in the hands on someone who needs them. How one manufacturer is turning the tide on excess inventory. Let's look at how one contract manufacturer we have worked with is meaning the problem of excess inventory. The manufacturer excess inventory was steadily inching toward unsustainable levels while external factors like increasing interest rates create an intractable problem. Company leaders start applying the concept of inventory momentum, of forward-looking metric based on the classic momentum equation, current inventory X rate for inventory change. In other words, having a large inventory isn't a problem, but when the inventory rate increases, the combined moment creates a major headache. And when you are talking about billions of dollars in electronic components that have an expiration date driven by technology transitions. The headache is expensive. Once they understood their inventory momentum, the leadership team took five key actions to reduce excess inventory, uh, extend the rate of inventory change, and prevent situations from happening in the future. They reduce incoming materials. Instead of ordering all components in advance, the company only ordered the components needed to make finished goods in the short term. The procurement teams delayed of orders for components that would not be immediately used in manufacturing. They set more accurate planning parameters, invested in real-time system provided stakeholders with information on how much inventory they had across all factories and suppliers' books. This data allowed the company to simulate changes to inventory labels when planning parameters like lead time, safety stock levels, and minimum order quantities. They disposed of excess and absolute inventory. Company company collaborate with suppliers and distributors for to find alternative customers for standard components. They collaborate with their customers. Leaders worked out agreements with customers that if order changed, the company would get stuck with excess components and arrange working capital advances to get paid in advance for critical materials. Customers could optimize their consumption of excess components by modifying product life cycles or working with suppliers to design alternative applications. They prioritized revenue for customers. By prioritizing customers with a backlog of large orders, they maximize customers' revenues while building the mix of products where components were already on hand. The results, the company reduced the total inventory number by more than 10% in a just few short weeks and reduced inventory momentum, uh, creating a more sustainable inventory ecosystem. This real world example isn't an outlier, it's the canary in the coal mine. The liability of excess inventory affects every business in the value chain to create a more sustainable environment. Every business needs to start thinking different about the border of excess inventory. To start, leaders must reconsider the narrative of infinite and demand. Every demand spike will eventually end in a inventory glut. It's up to the companies placing orders to temper that demand with a dose of reality. His supplier maximize revenues and OEMs order more than what they can reasonably sell. Contract manufacturers get stuck in the middle. That dynamic isn't healthy or sustainable. Value chains partners like OEMs, contract manufacturers, and suppliers need to be aligned on optimizing inventory. Suppliers should be able to redistribute excess components that are still perfectly useful for another applications. Getting products into the hands of people who need them in ultimately good for everyone. Finally, as a new industries emerge, prioritize creating healthy ecosystem from the start. The growing realm of AE represents uh, a major opportunity for high-tech manufacturers, but it's also an opportunity to build a healthy ecosystem. To do so, we can assume an infinite demand for AI-powered applications. The same is true for electric vehicle industry. If the ecosystem overproduces parts of for EVs, there's a high risk those parts will be outdated or un- unusable by the time demand eventually materializes. Management is a critical problem that should be on the radar of anyone in an industry with volatile demand and long lead times. And it requires a careful collective solutions. No single company stands alone. Instead, we we had all be well served to consider the broader business ecosystem, making decisions that will serve our bottom lines and the health of all companies connected to us. Listo. Este artículo pues, básicamente nos habla de uno de los grandes problemas que, que se ve en la actualidad, pues digamos que como para las empresas, para los fabricantes, para la industria de la manufactura, que es el exceso de inventario. Entonces, habla pues que el problema se pone muy o digamos que se manifiesta en los últimos años con la aparición de la pandemia en el 2020, ya que la pandemia fue un cambio repentino en los quehaceres diarios de las personas, un cambio repentino en la rutina, y este cambio repentino lo que hizo fue crear una alta demanda de un montón de componentes para poder suplir ese cambio. Ya la gente empezó a trabajar desde la casa, la gente empezó a tener, digamos, necesidades diferentes a las que tenía el año anterior. Entonces todo esto generó que como la demanda se subió, la demanda de todas estas cosas, entonces la oferta también se subió. Pero después de 2, 3 años de la pandemia, eh, esta demanda digamos que recobra los niveles normales, los niveles que tenía antes. Y esto lo que genera es que todas esas empresas que estaban manufacturando un montón de elementos, sobre todo pues no se habla mucho de elementos electrónicos, todas estas industrias de la manufactura se quedó con un montón de inventario acumulado. Entonces, no solamente las empresas, sino los almacenes y tienen un montón de celulares de alta gama, pero que ya, digamos que entre comillas están obsoletos, que ya la gente no los compra. Hay una sobreoferta en el momento, ya no está la sobredemanda, sino una sobreoferta y genera una acumulación de todo este inventario. Entonces acá propone pues como unas, digamos, unas soluciones al problema. Básicamente la primera es que todas las industrias manufactureras tienen que tener presente la demanda y sobre todo estas industrias que están digamos, supeditadas a una demanda variable. Deben tener un estudio, digamos, más a profundidad sobre su demanda para saber qué capacidad de inventario pueden tener para no llenarse de todo este inventario que a la larga se vuelve obsoleto e inservible. Y que en general debe crearse pues como acá hablan de un ecosistema eh, en cuanto a los inventarios, un ecosistema en el que se ven involucrados los vendedores de las materias primas, los fabricantes, los compradores, para que entre todos se pongan de acuerdo y puedan, digamos, mover ese inventario, ponerlo a circular. Porque si ese inventario, primero, pues genera pérdidas grandes y pérdidas millonarias en la industria y sobre todo lo que hablan acá es de la industria electrónica, de equipos electrónicos, genera pérdidas millonarias al año. Y segundo, pues la disposición de todos estos elementos que finalmente terminan siendo, o sea, terminan siendo inservibles. La disposición de todos estos elementos termina siendo un problema ambiental. Entonces, con un buen ecosistema en cuanto a la circulación de todos estos elementos, se puede evitar todo esto y a la larga, pues, evitar esas pérdidas millonarias que se generan al año.